What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about the Game Awards because they just announced their nominees for like 50 different categories, from Best Story, Best Actor, Best Games, and of course, Game of the Year. Now, I wanted to take a look at a bunch of these different categories because, for better or for worse, despite all its controversy, I do enjoy the Game Awards. It's kind of a big schlock fest, but it's cool to see a bunch of people get recognized for their hard work. A lot of game developers getting to go up on stage, get a little trophy, and say, hey, games are art and they need to be celebrated. But let's take a look at some of the goods and the bads of this year's nominees. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So let's start off by, of course, taking a look at the most important category, Game of the Year, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. So, I must admit, I predicted all of these would be here except Mario Wonder. I've played a lot of Mario Wonder. I do think it's a good game, but I must admit that compared to the rest of these, typically there's definitely a big bias towards narrative-heavy experiences. Games that have dramatic cutscenes and big sweeping landscapes. That's typically the stuff that gets nominated for Game of the Year. I think this really is a testament to just how much people have resonated with Mario Wonder. But look at this. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, which recently just came out. Both of these are very recent releases. Of course, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Mario, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So, all of these games are extremely good. I mean, a lot of these, I've beaten all of these. I reviewed all of these, except for Mario. I haven't reviewed that yet. But to me, it's very obvious that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win it all. But I think it's also interesting how much stuff got snubbed. 2023 has got to be one of the most packed years ever for video games. There's just been so much stuff like Hi-Fi Rush or Kirby and the Forgotten Kingdom or Octopath Traveler 2 or Final Fantasy 16. There's so much incredible stuff that did not make the cut, which is just honestly jaw-dropping to me. I do think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win it all, though, and I do very much think it deserves it. Now, what's interesting about the Game of the Year, wait a minute, 2022 nominees. That's not correct. That's a glitch. It says 2022 nominees, but I promise this is the 2023 categories as well. These are all the different categories that exist. Best art direction, best score, best audio, best performance. I wanted to take a look at some of these different categories and give my own personal tastes for them. But we're going to skip a lot because I don't care about best mobile game. I don't care about best esports coach. A lot of these categories, in my opinion, are complete schlock. But let's start things off with Best Narrative for outstanding storytelling and a narrative component in a game. Now, it's difficult to actually do this because I love the story for Spider-Man 2. I love the story for Final Fantasy 16. Baldur's Gate 3 has, I put 250 hours into my first playthrough. As weird as it is, I have the least hours in Alan Wake 2 of all the games here, but I do think that its story might be the most impactful for how unique it is. It's difficult to say it. I do again think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win it, but I almost want to lean towards Final Fantasy 16 or Spider-Man. God, they're so good. I think my personal pick would be for Spider-Man 2 because I really just love the story of Spider-Man 2. I like the idea of Miles and Peter teaming up and saving the city. It's very self-reflective. I actually really appreciated the fact that they kind of talked about the nature of being Spider-Man, the cost of saving the city and putting it before your bills and yourself and your job. In an age of superheroes, it's cool to see one that sort of looks upon it in a more realistic fashion of how being a hero would be cool, but also kind of suck. Okay, let's take a look at Best Performance. Now, this one is incredibly cool to me because there are just some very deserving actors here. This is basically the person who did the best voiceover, motion capture, performance capture. We've got Ben Starr as the main character of Final Fantasy 16, Cameron Monaghan, main character of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba, the star of the DLC of Cyberpunk 2077. Interesting. Saga from Alan Wake 2. Obviously, Asterion from Baldur's Gate 3. And Spider-Man from Spider-Man 2. As much as I really liked Saga as a character, her acting did not particularly stand out as like this groundbreaking, super crazy talented voice in Alan Wake 2. And as much as I like Spider-Man, I don't think his voice was incredibly standout-ish. I do think I'm going to go for Asterion and Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't played Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, so maybe that's incredibly good. But man, I did really like Ben Starr as well. Ben Starr at times just felt flat. I love the story of Final Fantasy XVI, but Ben Starr, during some of the side quests and stuff, he did not have that vocal punch that he had during the main quest. So I would still give it to Asterion and Baldur's Gate 3, because god dang, he freaking knocked that out of the park. Here we go. Best score and music. This one to me is incredibly obvious. I honestly don't know why Tears of the Kingdom is here. I think Tears of the Kingdom is not particularly good music at all, so it's bizarre that it's there. The music in 16 is pretty good. Again, Alan Wake 2, I don't know why Alan Wake 2 is there. In my opinion, the only winner is Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush just has such a great soundtrack, which is part of the star of the game. It's a rhythm action game. Giving it to Hi-Fi Rush seems so blatantly obvious. I don't know why anybody would vote for any of these other ones. I like some Final Fantasy 16 tracks, but Hi-Fi Rush is in a completely different category. Next up here is Best Art Direction for outstanding creative and/or technical achievement in an artistic design and animation. Lies of P did have an incredibly good freaking art style. Ooh, Mario Wonder, Zelda. Again, as much as I love Alan Wake 2's graphical style, I mean, to me, it's just mimicking real life. It didn't really, like, when I think about that game, I don't think best art. And Zelda just felt like another bit of Breath of the Wild that didn't wow me as much. I think I would give it to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Getting a chance to go to the Flower Kingdom instead of the Mushroom Kingdom. There were so many new monsters, graphical tricks, lots of different changings of the levels. To me, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is definitely the most deserving of the award, at least in my opinion. It is just that good. Next up, Best Independent Game. Ooh, Cocoon, Day the Dyer, Dredge, Sea of Stars, Viewfinder. These are all really good for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. These games are all incredibly good. I did play all of these, except Dredge. I never played Dredge. I am going to give it to Sea of Stars. I beat the hell out of Sea of Stars. And the fact that it's just straight up pretty much a sequel to Chrono Trigger. Cocoon and Dave the Dyer are good too, but I think Sea of Stars, to me, maybe this is disrespectful to the other nominees, but it feels like the most complete package, if that makes sense. Like, this is the game that I look at and I'm like, oh yeah, that is a finished, polished, impressive, technical achievement, which is literally the name of the game. Okay, so the last category I wanted to look at is this one here, which is the one I personally always love the most. Best RPG. My favorite stuff is horror games and RPGs. Hey, look, they finally gave something to Starfield. Of all these different categories, I guess none of them really, none of these got any nominations for Starfield except for Best RPG, and let's face it, it's definitely not going to win. I mean, Baldur's Gate is going to win this, but I kind of want Final Fantasy 16 to win it because I did love the story so much for 16. It was such a tone shift of typical Final Fantasy, going extra bleak, extra fatalist. Man, I love Final Fantasy 16 a lot. I will say that if Baldur's Gate 3 won, I'd be okay with it, and if Sea of Stars won, I'd also be okay with it. But I must admit that I didn't like Starfield. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was fine. But externally, I am fascinated that it didn't get really any nominations. This is, this was the major Xbox game. This is the game that was supposed to sell consoles. And I feel like here we are a couple months after it. Nobody's even talking about it. Like, these nominations are all done by Game of the Year award judges, typically games journalists who also review games. And it's fascinating to me that when they think of best games, best music, best acting, nobody thinks of Starfield. And I'm not meaning to beat up on it. I'm just kind of venting my thoughts on it because it is fascinating that it only got nominated for Best RPG, and it definitely ain't going to win it. So my pick goes to this, Final Fantasy 16. All of these categories look good. I actually think a lot of these seem cool. Best Ongoing is the last one I want to take a glance at. Best Ongoing Game is typically a bunch of, there's MMOs and live service games, so like Fortnite and Genshin Impact and Apex Legends. But it's interesting to me that we did get Cyberpunk 2077 in this because of, I guess, how much they've managed to improve it and change it with the new 2.0 patch and, of course, the Phantom Liberty expansion. It's been an epic year for games, and I think a lot of these games definitely deserve their spots. I think all this stuff is actually pretty dang cool. No matter who wins, I think gamers definitely won for 2023. I'm glad that Resident Evil 4 got a good nod because, I mean, that game freaking rocks. Alan Wake 2 getting so many freaking awards. I'm ready for the Game Awards. This is coming up here in a couple weeks, and I'm definitely going to be down for it. But what do you guys think? What is your game of the year? Please tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and please give this video a like and keep dreaming. By the way, I am doing a giveaway for Spider-Man 2 over on my Twitter account. It's a digital code I'm going to give away to a winner on Friday. So go to my Twitter account, click that link, and enter today, and somebody's going to get a chance to web swing for free. Thanks for watching. You guys rock. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.